time trying to read it out loud because some of it went up the side and then it went the standard way, just left to right. But I had a hard time with the up the side, especially when I'm trying to read it out loud to students and I'm looking upside down, because that's hard enough to do as it is.
Well, and I noticed, I guess thinking about the author and like the handwriting, it's interesting how not only did they choose to, you know, write sideways and, you know, this going this way and all, but the handwriting itself is...
It does look like handwriting. It's not like a font or anything like that.
Right, yes, it does. It definitely, like, even like when you look at the word good and it's like, reminds me sometimes how I write.
Yeah, it looks like how I write too, because I think, oh, that's not a straight enough D. I need to do another extra line on it there.
Was it you that posted something about handwriting?
I don't know. Maybe.
Something about it's a sign of intelligence.
Yes.
If,
yes.
You have the
chicken scratch equals genius. Yes.
So, yes.
Therefore,
I was like, that might explain something.
Well, it might explain this guy or these people, whatever. Another thing, when I was reading this the first time, I was reading it at home before trying to read it in front of the kids, and I noticed there's just tons of really good imagery. Like even here on this page, it's Magpie drags her body into the shadow of the rocks until she feels herself melting into blackness. That's not something that you see in a normal kid's book for little kids.
Right.
So maybe this wasn't intended for little kids. Maybe it was intended for older kids as a read aloud or an example of something.
Well, if you notice the actual like first line or first part of the sentence when you start reading, it says through the charred forest, and it's like all caps, and it's kind of I'm wondering. I guess it is showing like some importance of making the reader realize.
A little bit, even the next one where it says over hot ash runs dog, but then it changes to the lowercase again.
Well, it's kind of that background. I guess the imagery and this really establishes some setting or background, so you know what happened to Magpie.
Yeah.
And I didn't
you
really
know
notice
sort of
until
what happens to her, but you don't know why the forest is charred, what started it.
And hot ash.
Hot ashes. I mean, you know that it burned, but you don't know how it started or if it was because of Magpie or anything else. We don't know.
But you also
There's a lot of mystery in there.
There is, I guess, or a lot of things that you don't get questions or answers for your questions. But like you see, you already learn a little bit about the character or personality of Dog, that he's, gentle, and he, clamped in his big gentle mouth. He takes her to this cave above the river, and there he tries to tend her burnt wings. So you infer that, he saved her, and he also
he's trying to get her better.
Yeah, to take care of her. So that he's brave and he's like already kind, and it's a stranger.
And then when you get to the middle here, we find out that he's blind in one eye, and that would kind of explain why maybe he has a tender heart towards somebody else who's injured
and wants to be helpful. And so I guess as we go along in it, I started realizing that you could look at a bigger picture, find if you were going to think about what is the message here, why did they read this, and you think about friendship and what true friends are, or even sometimes family, because friends do kind of become family. Thinking about our group. Yeah. I mean,
we act so much like family. Sometimes it's scary.
Because I guess we've gotten we care and help each other, and I don't know. Yeah. And so our friendship has now formed like this family that you'd almost do about anything for each other, I guess. Yeah. So I guess that kind of reminds me of how he's acting with Dog.
Did you think, as you were reading this, that it was kind of like a parable? We're supposed to learn some sort of a lesson from it, or maybe Magpie's supposed to learn a lesson? A lot of the parables, especially the older ones, when you see things like here where she says the first time, I will be your missing eye and you will be my wings, and then that's repeated again.
There's definitely some repetition.
A couple of times. It almost felt like it needed to be repeated one more time just for that pattern, and instead of repeating it, it kind of changed that last moment.
When Fox is...
When Fox is there. Fox comes in almost like some kind of a cancer or something to their relationship, just eats away at her, and until she thinks, maybe I could be better with Fox than with Dog.
And it's like that voice. He's kind of like the voice in your head, in my, kind of. I know he's really like there, but he's also kind of at another level. He's becoming that when you have the angels or the demon and the angel.
He gets whispering in her ear. There's like 3 or 4 times that it says whispers to her ear or something like that.
He waits till Dog's not around.
Yeah.
Being that sly fox, and it's interesting how they did choose a fox because they are considered sly. So.
Let's see, where's the first time that it says fox whispers? Fox is staring at her burnt wing.
Yeah, the word choice definitely helps you.
Fox with his haunted eyes and rich red coat, he flickers through the trees. That word flicker made me think back to the fire at the beginning, whatever charred the forest. Word flicker, so maybe he's going to damage this relationship like
So
she
some
was damaged.
foreshadowing.
Maybe, or maybe more like parallelism more than. And then it says again, like a tongue of fire. That fire image keeps coming back.
It is interesting how the author carefully chose the words. That,
Oh yes.
You know, after the rains and saplings are springing up everywhere. You know, but it really helps the mood with those words because, like you were saying, haunted and
stared.
And he whispers and magpie trembles.
I see. Just on this page, you've got whispers. Whispers a second time. Whispers a third time. I mean, just 3 times the word whisper was used on that one page. So clearly, that repetition of just that one word.
And again, like how we noticed in the beginning, the all capped, font, fly dog fly, I will be your missing eye, you will be my wings.
When she's yelling that first part.
And it almost helps you, like you can almost imagine, dog running with this bird on his back, and she's yelling this because of how it's written. So even the word, like how it's written and emphasized, it really helps.
Yeah, I wish that we had page numbers on this, so it would be easy to kind of refer to certain pages.
Yeah, I don't like that either because I keep looking at what picture you're looking at.
What about the end of it? I mean, Fox takes her out into the desert and just drops her and says, now you can see what it's like to be alone.
Well, I think he kind of feeds off of her, like, mental depression. I think she's almost kind of depressed, if, giving the bird human characteristics. Personification. So I really feel like Fox is, has been watching her and and that's why I think he sees them together, and I feel like he wishes sometimes he has somebody like that, but
jealousy or envy or something.
Right. And I guess he sees Magpie as this hurt bird, and I guess she's weak in a sense, even in her weak-minded.
Yeah.
And so it's
she's
easy to
emotionally
prey.
weak as well.
I guess like fox and prey, so they're usually weak in a sense. So I guess he kind of uses that and then is able to be that bad demon on the shoulder and get her away from Dog, and then make her, it's like he is intentionally, wanting to teach her a lesson and to be cruel, I don't know. So.
And taking her out in the desert where it's hot and she's burning, I mean, she's already been burnt once
she can't
before,
fly.
It's burning her again, yes. It's almost like a demon taking her to hell, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, I guess it is kind of, and if you look at this picture too, I don't know what hell looks like, but I guess.
But the red and the orange, and it makes you think of flames, and
doesn't really look like a desert to me.
Yeah, especially since it started off with fire at the beginning in the charred forest. I mean, yeah, we've got this image at the very beginning of the fox taking Magpie, so if you were paying attention to the pictures, you already knew that was happening. Or is that Dog? That looks more like fox to me.
I think that's
Maybe
the Dog.
Maybe it's meant to be Dog.
That's Dog. But
yeah, I guess it is Dog.
But it's interesting that even the word choice, slowly, jiggity hop.
Yeah.
So you imagine this little bird, because they can't really fly, so they're really hopping. So the word choice again creates that imagery, and she begins the long journey home, and that's kind of emphasized because he's taken her all the way
somewhere that she shouldn't be.
Right.
Yeah.
And that she's wants. I guess that confirms, you know, she doesn't realize she should have stayed with dog, and he's the
word
true
home.
friend. And
The word home, dog is home. Doesn't matter where they are. It's like being with dog is her home now.
Right. That is, I didn't even think about that. Home, when you think of home, it has that hidden, connotation of.
It's not just house, but it's the family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and it get the emotional attachment to it. But then she actually like stops and thinks about what dog would be feeling or thinking if she's not there.
Mm-hmm.
So it shows her emotion and that she has become family basically to him, or
Yeah.
that, like we were saying in the beginning, how your friendship can go from just being friends to like family.
To being family.
And when you consider someone to be in your home, even though they're friends, she considers dog family.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think she realizes the choice she made,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like she was given this ultimatum in a sense of, or maybe she didn't realize it was an ultimatum, but she goes
Yeah.
off and, oh, I'm just gonna go fly fast, or feel like I'm really flying.
Yeah, that
That
temptation, again,
Deception.
like you said, the temptation and the deception. She just kind of fell for it, and she realizes there near the end, hey, I shouldn't have done that. So she starts trying to go back home. I kind of wanted to see on the last page, or maybe on the back of the book, I wanted to see her back
With
with
dog.
dog again. I wanted to see that there was a happy ending to this, but the fact that the writers left that out, that again makes me think, well, maybe the lesson was not, is there a happy ending, but the lesson is she learned her lesson and she's trying to come back.
And that kind of goes back to like you were comparing to parables. Usually there's
Mm-hmm.
a moral to them.
Yeah.
And I guess I think back when I hear parables, even like the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
They were
And
written.
Aesop's fables.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the fables, and there's always a lesson to be learned,
Mhm.
and so it's not, it's, you have to kind of watch the events and the characters and
Yeah.
infer it, and it's.
And that's the wonderful thing about allegory. It's open to so many different interpretations, and that's what this is. It even tells us on the back of it that it's an allegorical tale. For people that didn't actually read it, they could see that and say, oh, well, it's meant to be thought-provoking. It's meant to
When it
make
says,
us think about it.
like, ends on a hopeful note,
Mm-hmm.
and
On a tenuously hopeful
Right.
note, too, yeah.
unsettling, provocative story will resonate long after the book has been closed.
And it is unsettling, isn't it?
It is, because it's kind of like, well, what happened to Bird,
Yeah.
or Magpie?
But even the artwork in it and the way that the words are kind of scrambled and jumbled around makes it very unsettling
Mhm.
for a reader.
Well, and, I mean, just like opening to this one, that's just so creepy,
Mm-hmm.
and.
And Fox staring at her wing.
Well,
Painted him before that, yeah.
But now it looks like he's staring at the reader.
Yeah.
And I guess it relates to life that so many people have foxes that, come into their lives, and then they have to choose a good or bad
Mm-hmm.
way. And sometimes that, temptation or deception seems so much better than what's,
Yeah.
than you have or what you're doing. So I guess that there's all sorts of like lessons, and that it just depends on what you're thinking.
Mm-hmm. It depends on what you get out of it, like any really good allegory would be.
I guess-
What you get out of it's what you put into it.
Well, in talking about it has, I guess, made me think about other stuff.
Yeah.
That, sometimes you just read a book and it's like, oh, that's a cute little story, but there's so much more meaning
Mm-hmm.
included in. So.
Well, the first time that I read this, I really did not like it, and I was thinking to myself, why am I having to read this in front of a bunch of students and get them to write about it? Then I started reading some of the things that they wrote about it, and I thought, I didn't think of that before. And then the next time that I read it aloud to my students was just about a month later, and I read it a little bit different, and put the emphasis on the different voices,
Right.
made the fox sound all sneaky and sly and stuff like that, and that made a difference, I think, to the kids that were listening to me then too. Why do you think the title was Fox instead of Magpie or Dog or something else? Why is Fox the name of the book?
Well, he's the one who comes in and, kind of messes up.
Yeah, he's the antagonist here, right?
Yes.
He's creating the conflict or making the conflict worse.
And, he's that tempter. He, putting that deception of, oh, if you fly with me, or ride up, with me. I'm gonna make you feel like you're really flying, and he's that bad choice basically, or the person that kind of tries to lead you away.
But he's not even in the whole first half of the book.
That's true.
He shows up kind of late.
But I guess because he has such a, I guess he's detrimental to their relationship, and the fact that he does become that focus, and he's, I guess in thinking about like how the author wants us to understand the theme, he's kind of the emphasis.
Yeah, I think that it tries to bring us more to the theme, to the lesson that Magpie learned a little bit late, and maybe we should learn it before we have some kind of a fox in our life that tries to create
the
conflict.
grass isn't always greener on the other side. So I guess thinking about like that, since he is.
Is there any green in the book?
No, I don't think so. And that's
brown.
Probably interesting to think about. I think, hey, there's blue, so.
A little bit of blue, yeah.
But all of it is really dark and.
Gloomy.
And yes, I mean, I guess right here there's
It's
green.
almost green, yeah.
And they look happy, and where he's staring at them like with these reddish, evil eyes.
Okay. Well, when we talk with the others, we're supposed to like come up with some questions to ask them or something like that, but I can't remember exactly what we're supposed to do. Do you remember?
No.
I don't remember either. I think we're supposed to like bring up things that they might not have thought of, but we did, or we talked about.
Well, I think the question.
I'm gonna send that fly after them.
Yeah. Maybe like being the title, and then maybe like, so why do you think Fox was the title? Also, having thinking about. I think you like, I guess going back to your parables. Maybe what did they think about? I think you said parallel to parables, or.
I think I'm gonna get a couple of the specific like phrases that are used, the ones that are clearly not elementary level, like stringy barks. What was that? That was the trees.
Well, and the tongue of fire.
The tongue of fire. I mean, some of those specific word choices and image choices. There was another one right there. At night, his smell seems to fill the cave, a smell of rage and envy and loneliness.
Yeah.
How can you smell rage, envy, and loneliness? And of course, in my mind, I can kind of put like a coppery, almost like a blood smell to it.
And you know what we didn't talk about is how Dog was, okay with Fox. He was going, accepted him and let him, be in the cave with them. And it's interesting that, Magpie was trying to warn Dog about Fox.
Magpie was not trusting, and maybe that's why Fox chose Magpie to, I don't know, maybe. Or maybe just because Magpie was weaker. I don't know.
Well, and I think we kind of talked about her being the weaker one.
The weak link.
Do you think Dog, because he stays the same, so he's,
he's a very static character.
Right. So, do you think he, I guess we have to kind of, predict or infer.
I think he'd kind of accepted his fate already and was just trying to be the best that he could and trying to help others the best that he could. Magpie wasn't very accepting yet. I mean, his injury's still fresh for her.
And having to live differently.
Yeah, still kind of in denial about the way that her life has changed.
I guess what I was trying to ask, do you think, because even though he was static throughout, do you think he realized before Magpie got back, of her choice, and could have effaced him?
Well, that's kind of a question that's left up to the reader, because when, here in the stillness, Magpie hears a faraway scream. She cannot tell if it is a scream of triumph, which would be the fox, or despair, which might be Dog. Or maybe the fox, huh? Fox is still kind of in despair, too.
So, that right there, I guess the word choice, makes you wonder, did Fox go and hurt Dog? Or did Dog hurt Fox?
Or did Dog just wake up and realize that Magpie and Fox were gone and figure out what happened? So, or not even know what happened.
And so, when she's jiggity-hoppity home, you know.
I kinda hope she makes it.
I hope she does too, but sometimes when you make those choices,
It's gonna be hard to be forgiven and be welcomed back.
well, it all depends on what it is, you know, on those, the bad, I wanna say bad, I guess, negative or bad choices, really.
Mhm.
Cause sometimes it's hard to go back
Yeah.
or rewind.
A lot of times our life has negative consequences that come about from our decisions, and sometimes you can fix them and sometimes you can't. Kinda hope that she can.
And I guess the good thing here is she, even though she made the wrong choice and went with Fox, she then decided to go back home because she was like, I could just, it would be easy, so easy, just to die here in the desert. So she could just give up
She could just give up.
and not go back. But then she thought, actually, you know, thought about dog and just didn't like that. I mean,
She started thinking of others instead of herself.
right.
And I think that was a big shift in her thinking. So
That-
maybe even though Fox didn't do this for good reasons, maybe it was helpful for her in the long run.
Because she constantly was, I think, in the back of her mind thinking about herself and her burnt wing, can't fly, and then
Kind of forced her to start thinking of others first.
like dog does.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Alright, so do you think we're ready for whatever we need to do tomorrow?
I hope. I think. I mean, the whole thing about if Magpie makes it, or what, or that despair. I think that the screen.
Yeah, a couple pages further back.
Oh, yeah.
There.
I think the faraway scream and scream is either triumph or despair. But I think that's a good question to bring up. Like what do people?
Who's doing the screaming?
Yeah. What's happening
What
there?
does it mean?
So, and then I think, like you said, the tongue of fire scorches through woodlands, and
Coolabah trees, I like that too.
well, and the charred forest. If you don't know,
Lots of rich imagery.
yes. So I think those are definitely, and melting into blackness, shadow of the rock. I mean, there's so many that we could point out or ask about.
Okay. I think we're ready.
I think so.
Alright, we ready?